I'll keep chewing.
Oh my God. I will mute you. I swear to God.
Probably
Why did it offend you so bad? Oops. Why did you get so offended when I muted you? You've never forgotten that. It was like 5 years ago.
It wasn't 5 years ago, and you didn't unmute me. You seen me like I'm like.
That's the best part.
I had no idea why Uwe wasn't responding to anything I was saying. That's why I got upset.
Oh my.
If I could mute you, I'd be like,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Or am I?
That hurts my feelings.
Mighty Mo, what's up?
Not a whole heck of a lot.
We're here at the Institute Summit watching David eat his meat.
Is that the black bean burger?
Oh no!
Looks like the black bean burger.
I'm not eating that abomination. Oh.
Turns out it was the black bean
It
burger.
looks like the black bean burger.
Somebody picked it up, licked it, said, "Ooh, that's black beans. Put it back."
And he's enjoying it, it looks like.
Yeah. He's searching black bean burger to see what it looks like.
No, I'd be able to tell. I'm just telling you.
All right. So the Mighty Mo from Shopware.
Mighty Mo.
Mighty Mo. Talk about Shopware and talk about the most underutilized or improperly utilized feature in Shopware. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's what we term DVX.
Okay.
So it's also our competitive differentiator. So it's,
Yeah.
of course, the thing that all of us, are very proud of,
Yeah.
of course. And when utilized correctly, it is, so impactful for shops on many different levels, not only from profitability, but obviously revenue. And then you think about just the customer perspective. And of course, that's going to, have them out there talking about their experience. So it's kind of touching a lot of different areas, even though we're really mainly calling it DVX, which is the DVI, of course.
Right.
But it's really connected to so many different pieces. And so that's
Right.
why it's critical to get it correct.
Well, and it's a big deal because it is the client-facing interface in a lot of ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's what they see. Now, I use mine very differently. I'm going to get in trouble. I use mine very...
Don't bring that up. You're just gonna mess the whole thing up.
I'm not
I'm
even
gonna have to edit
saying...
out anything you say. Hey, did you know that Joe Schindler was just in here and he uses Loom to go through the DVX, and then he sends the video
when he sends the estimate.
When
so
he
they
sends
can
the
watch
estimate,
the
they
video.
can watch the video as he's explaining all of the DVX components on a Loom, which has your face and everything on there. Isn't that a great idea?
No, it's wonderful. We actually have a shop that I think you had on the podcast before that sends and they have on their website, they have a video that explains the whole process of that interaction, which I think
that's
is
something
phenomenal.
I want to do. That is definitely something I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for brand new customers.
Yeah.
And if you're really busy up at the front, as an advisor, if you have 3 people waiting to drop their car off, you don't want to have to take the time to explain that. So just giving them a video to help them in that process
To know.
helps obviously alleviate some of that burden off of someone who's really busy at the moment. So I think
And
that's phenomenal.
Especially your older clients, right? Because some of them do struggle a little bit. And it's not just it's any technology.
I mean, there hopefully a lot of older clients are starting to not only see this in the shop, but I mean, you go shopping at any retail store and they give you options, right? It's not the same options, of course, because you're going to review a lot more at an auto repair shop. But I mean, in general, all we're really trying to do is allow folks to be communicated with however they want to be communicated with. So if you do have an older client who says, I want no part in that,
Right.
you can call them and talk them through the process just as you would. But
and I don't know if you know this, but like I take my authorizations very seriously. I want to like make sure it's documented and very clear. Well, so if you turn on what's it called? The California.
Oh, yes. We built it for the Bar Association.
Right.
But I mean, it is so great for any state.
There's a function?
Yeah, you turn it on and it like gives you a list of the authorizations. Like it makes you authorize it over the telephone, and it make like anything you do when you approve it. Yeah, you didn't know about this?
So in the past, you had the recommendations up at the top. And if, let's say someone was in person, you're obviously maybe not going to send it to them to give authorization. So you would.
We do sometimes at the counter because we want to get them to do it themselves.
Oh, great. Then this is going to be phenomenal for you. So if you turn it on and you say the person is approving in person, before it would just say approved.
Yeah.
And but now it gives you a box to collect that signature. So you could just flip around your screen or hand them the tablet, and it allows you
I think it's in
capture
transparency, isn't it?
I think it might be in your main shop or account settings. I should know this. I think on RO info on shop settings is where you scroll down a little bit and you'll see it says like there's 2 toggles.
Whoa, I've got a whole lot more features than you do, Dave.
I hate you so much. I hate you so much. He always gets like these cool things, and I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I just turned it on.
It's
Yes.
so cool.
So now what happens is not only the in-person, but if you say, they approve by email or by text, it's going to allow you to choose which person from the profile. So if you have additional contacts, it'll say maybe the wife, maybe the husband
That
approved.
is so cool.
And then you choose the phone number. Yeah, all of this is required by the bar. But again, who is not going to benefit from this?
Well, and then as you get like down towards the bottom, then it gives you a summary of everybody that approved.
Yes, on the printed repair order. So if originally they approved, the inspection or an oil change, great. But then now you're going to have itemized down on the printout.
Yeah, pick
what
one and
in addition.
look at the PDF view. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So great. We worked with the bar to make this happen.
I love it. It is next level cool. And like you were talking to me about like, hey, should we do a podcast on this? And I'm like, I'm already using this. And like you didn't even expect me because you thought it was like, you're not in California. Come on now, Laura.
Well, let's be fair. A lot of people, which I'm glad we're talking about this, if they signed on
You may have
7 years ago,
Yeah.
they're using Shopware like it was designed 7 years ago, and they're not really using a lot of the new functionality. So,
For sure. And you don't like people don't go check.
No.
Right? They don't ever look at it.
And even if they do, because we give, the pop-ups now,
Yeah.
they dismiss it and they continue their day because, again, you're checking someone in and you're like, I don't have time for that right now.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's very, very good to see the new functionality, implement the new functionality, so you could take advantage of the cool stuff we're building.
When you talk about the fact that DVX is being underutilized or not properly utilized.
Yeah. So we had done, we pulled the back-end data a while ago. Carolyn wanted to do a class because we had envisioned that our DVX was generating a higher close ratio.
Okay.
And so we wanted to prove that theory, right?
Okay.
And when we looked at the data, it was a lot of very interesting things that we found.
Okay.
But specifically, when we looked at the comparison of folks who shared the repair order and folks who didn't share the repair order, there was a significant difference in terms of the money, obviously, that they're not.
People don't share the repair order?
Yes. There was like 15% of our users, our total users, that never, ever share the repair order. Yeah, right? Mind-boggling.
Well,
It's like, why are you even using Shopware then? Because this is literally
its purpose.
our differentiator.
Why would they? Like, did you ask?
No. I mean, yeah. No.
Can I get their telephone numbers? I want to ask.
Right. It's. I would be very interested to hear their feedback of why. But no, I didn't.
It's just like Craig O'Neill, and like he challenges shops to have a really high share percentage of the DVI.
There's shops that don't share their DVI?
And I'm like 98%. And I took the number and I shared it in the Facebook group. And he's like, wow, that's really high. How is it not? What's the point of doing the DVI if you're not going to share it? What's the point?
The only ones that don't get shared in my shop are the ones on my cars.
Yeah.
I don't want to lower my percentage. I share them. I send them. They come to me. I'm not even at the shop half the time. So like it pops up on my phone and I open the DVI to see how clapped out my loaners are.
Is it bad?
Somebody just hit one of my loaners, scuffed the whole side of the car, left yellow paint all over.
But is there any damage internally, or is it just
No, it's going back on the road and I don't care.
Yeah, we had one get popped. And it was after his car had just a whole list of things that went completely sideways. Like if it could go wrong, it did go wrong. And it was like this car that we've suggested, like, yo, are you sure? Are you like really sure? Positive. And they just kept saying yes. It worked, but
Parts deposit?
oh yeah, and paid for the repairs to the.
Oh, I like that.
To the
Send that guy
waterfront.
to me.
So, they're not 15% are not sending.
at all, ever.
Okay, so let's just be like, I think this is a no-brainer. Send the repair order.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what system you're in.
Yeah, send the repair
you
order.
should be sharing.
Yeah.
If you're going to put in all of the effort to do the inspection, to review, obviously, things on the vehicle, then why in the world wouldn't you share it?
This makes no sense.
It doesn't.
Okay, all right. So share it. Next one.
Yeah, so the second piece we found, which was also very intriguing, was everybody. It doesn't matter what types of vehicles you're working on. It doesn't matter anything at all. Everyone who is not, so obviously you're not sharing everything, right?
Yeah.
As we pointed out, he is. Maybe you aren't. But when you're not sharing it, you are not only presenting less money, so less recommendations, less money, but then you're making obviously less money because the customers aren't approving as much.
Right.
So if you're keeping it without sharing it, maybe because they're your internal vehicles, you're obviously selling less. So the overall, what we took away from that is when you sell or when you're sharing it with your customer, you're not only presenting more work, but then you're selling more money. So the close ratio stays pretty consistent across the board.
Okay.
However, the amount of money that you're able to get sold goes up significantly.
Okay.
So it's very important to put that thing in front of your customer, which is going to obviously equate to more money.
I've seen some shops that don't even do an eval on the car, and then they like take Shopware and they just build a ticket and they make a recommendation for whatever it needs. The one that really gets me is they make the recommendation in the like regular area in the middle, and then they send it.
Yes.
And I'm like,
how are they going to approve?
right. Well, this is how much it is. Like, dude, you're not even you're not using it.
Yeah. So we find that also. So we find some folks are sharing it, but they're not getting any services approved, and that's because they're putting it on the body of the ticket. So the customer's looking at it, but what are they going to be able to actually do? They're not going to interact with it in any way.
Right.
So that doesn't make any sense. But then you have a large number of folks who are using Shopware the way it was originally designed, which is fine. There's no problem, obviously, doing that. However, we've taken a lot of time, done a lot of interviews with
That's you, Lucas.
customers, with not only we call them the car owner, your customers, but we've also done a lot of interviews with staff, both service advisors and technicians, to ensure that the new format of presentation to your customer is really solid. And again, the main reason why we stand out is because we put a lot of time and effort into how the car owner not
Interacts
only
with
sees it, but interacts with it and
Yeah.
understands the information that's being presented.
Okay, so when you say the old way, give me a rundown.
Yeah. So before, I would say, what is it, May 2023, we were uniquely, obviously, positioned to be able to add pictures and videos and recommendations that kind of all live together. So same type of format as today, but the difference is it lived in a notes section.
Okay.
It didn't live on the inspection and on the repair order.
Right.
And so today, well, before I go there, that was great because it allowed you to build the value, but it wasn't directly associated with the things on the repair order. So a
Right.
lot of customers said, hey, I would love for the story to just happen sequentially, right? Like
Yeah.
the customer can see it as it happens versus now they're kind of taken off into this other section of the repair order.
Right.
Which obviously requires the car owner to be a little bit more thoughtful of what they're reviewing and when they're reviewing it and how it pertains to the services on the actual vehicle. So,
Right.
so now takes really no thought. Everything happens in a way that makes a lot of sense, even if you don't understand the words that the
Yeah, you just go down
shops-
the line and it's
Exactly.
like, hey, this is on one of the red lines. I guess I need to take care of this.
Yes.
So I just click the button and
exactly,
I'm good.
exactly.
And so what you're saying is they're still writing everything in the notes section.
That's correct.
And I'm not gonna lie, I still do that. But I do
Everything.
I do it a little bit differently because my DVI is outside. Right.
Okay.
So what I do is because it's the way it pushes. Now, if I could click a button and it pushed my DVI over into,
I thought you were using the inspections in Shopware.
I go back and forth.
Okay, so you're still
We use them
using-
for like diagnostic notes.
Okay.
So if we sell testing on
Build
the
test plans in it.
yeah, they'll be like, hey, fault, correct, whatever. You put that in the inspection, so then the technician can then put the notes and the pictures in there, and then we slap a price attached to that to do the repair. So we do utilize it in some fashion.
Are you saying the notes on the right you're still using? Is that what you're
No,
saying?
he's saying the inspection lines.
The inspection lines.
Right, because we both use autoflow.
Okay.
Right. Now here's the only thing that I use autoflow for now.
Okay.
Right, is my cursory evaluations and my light service evaluations are all in Shopware.
Okay.
Right, and so those evaluations, when we do those, they just pre-populate right there, and we just wreck off of those like you're supposed to, and we just go down the list and make them, and then they tie together, and we're good.
Okay.
Right. The difference is for me because my DVI is so thorough. I mean, it's like 180 points.
Okay.
And so the problem is that it just resulted in so much information, right? And it's required to have pictures on like 50% of it.
Okay.
And so it had so much information on it, like it.
Information overload.
Yeah, exactly. And so what we do is with the very thorough ones, the first time we see the car, those recs are still built like the original recs in the note section over on the side. And then we use test plans for each individual thing. And for me, I think that's the biggest thing I see underutilized in Shopware is that instead of writing test plans, people are just writing up what they're doing to the car. I think they need to be writing a test plan for each car and say, do this test, this test, this test, and this test. Because there's a couple things about that, right? The first is, if you have a shop foreman, you have a really strong diagnostician. What are we always talking about? We're always talking about there's a skilled trade shortage for number one. My guys that I do have aren't very good at diag, and I'm not getting the consistency that I want, and I'm not providing enough information to my client. So if we build a test plan in Shopware, because it works beautifully for this.
What are you referring to when you say test plan?
So instead of like inspection lines where you would say, front brakes, rear brakes, struts, right? You're going to have circuit has adequate voltage supply. Circuit is grounded. Whatever the feedback from
this
the
is
circuit.
the measurement. This is the measurement.
So each individual test then has, hey, this is step one of the testing protocol and step two of the testing protocol. And as proof that you conducted the test, you take pictures and notes
Yeah.
in the inspection so that they can see that, hey, this is the picture of me measuring voltage. Here's the picture of me checking for ground. Here's the layout from the lab scope, so they can see that here's a little arrow showing what's wrong, the squiggle's wrong, right? And here's a recommendation based on that. That makes the whole testing protocol, that's $250, seem valuable. Does that make sense? Rather than just a whole mess of notes sitting in the notes section.
And it standardizes the process.
That's
it
how
standardizes the
Carolyn
process.
uses the program as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And well, that's where I learned it from.
Yes.
Right. And so then you make a rec at the bottom of that. And when they mark that red, recommended repair marked red, and now it just pops up and the advisor builds it. Now you just go down that list and you're like, oh, but they did this test and this test and this test, and I see this. Right.
Okay.
But see, the information overload is the only reason that I don't use for my primary DVI. Now, look, the new manager is saying like, hey, I think the DVI is too in depth. I think you're going over too much information. And same thing with the brake eval. Like my brake evals are too in depth, and it's not a Shopware problem. It's a me problem, because I want all this data and I want to know that you measured it and I want to know what this result was. And so to take that out, I feel like I'm leaving things off the table that I want the information for.
Yes.
And I'm depending on them. I'm depending on the technician to know what to check. And I have, in my experience, found that some miss some things that are really important. So I have built unhealthy systems by like all these mistakes. I've like put this little thing in for each one that they missed. And so now it's,
For me, it's the text message updates. That's it. It's the only reason why. Not that we don't love Chris and Craig, they're wonderful, and now Brandon. We love them all. It's that don't need it. I've got it in Shopware. I want to send that. Hey, we're looking at the car now. Hey, we're preparing an estimate.
The automated updates.
yeah.
Well, even if I had canned messages in there that they just kept getting little alerts saying, hey, there's an update to your car. Go look. There's an update to your car. Go look.
I do not envy Andrew for 1 second. Okay. So we're out there. I've got pictures I'll show you. We're out there. And Andrew pulls us all aside, all the Shopware users, into this room. And he's like, okay, so all of the things that everybody says need to be fixed, I have every recommendation out there on sticky notes. And if y'all give us just a few minutes, we're going to put those sticky notes up in individual sections. And then what I want you to do is I want you to put these little dots on the ones that you think are urgent and the things that you think are really important. Let's get everything marked. The things you don't think are important, put on that. And he said, now it's probably going to take me about 30 minutes to put all these sticky notes up. And I mean, it's just a wall of sticky notes. And you're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
And like everybody in the room wanted something else different than everybody
what was
else
on the sticky note?
Yeah. I'm
Yes.
like, golly, dude.
Yes.
So like everything that's in there, right? And it's like every recommendation they've ever had is up on this wall, and it's like, ooh, that's overwhelming. I can feel my heart beating faster now. I don't know how
You
Yes.
just ignore all of it and go, program's fine.
The best part is when you push out something new and exciting and you're so pumped about it. You're like, yeah, everybody's going to be so thrilled. They've all been asking for this. You push it out, and instead of like, thank you, it's like, what about X, Y, Z? And it's like,
Oh my God.
thank you. I was so excited to tell you I was Santa and I was delivering these presents for
hilarious.
you. And they are all unhappy with it.
Well, what's so wild is like you talk to one person, dude from Sun Auto was there, right? And we're having these conversations, and that was a really cool experience because he's smart. I mean, he is a smart.
And they have who knows how many locations.
Yeah,
It's ungodly.
And so, like, getting to spend some time with him and him talking about, oh, yeah, we've ran into this. So, what we do is this. I'm like, oh, well, that's a good idea. I never thought of that. And so, like, I didn't say that. I didn't want to look that bad. But, you know, we're sitting in the room and we're talking through some of this. And it's even happened between me and you because we're talking about the customer financing stuff and those packages. And it's like some people are mad about the idea of doing that. And I'm over here like, God, I can't wait for that to happen. And it's I don't see how you can take and make. I mean, I get not making everybody happy. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying after seeing that list, I'm like, oh, shit. This is intense.
Yes, it is. not for the weak.
Yeah.
To go create a shop management system that you want to, push out into the market for the masses. If you're just creating something for yourself and a couple people say, great, we want to utilize it, then, that's not as difficult. But then you don't get to all of the cool stuff because it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Developers aren't cheap. Design folks aren't cheap.
Well,
you have to have a support team and an onboarding team and a sales team. And
talking to Andrew and Alex and everybody else, it was exceptionally clear that, like, hey, we want to make the right decisions.
That's right.
And what goes into making the right decision and the amount of data that it takes to make the right decision. And then, like, to get the right decision to do what it's supposed to do is
the research that you put in beforehand, because you're like, great, this is the right idea. And then you go pitch that idea to folks and then you hear feedback that either you didn't think of or then, the idea that you thought we should implement is just not what other folks want. So yes, it's definitely labor intensive for sure, just to even get to the first step.
One of the conversations we had while we were there was AI and, like, how can AI play into a shop management software? Like, how can it be automated into it? What can you do? And so, like, we were talking about an automated function where it can clean up technician notes in the notes section. So the primary customer facing side, you can click a button and it cleans it up, or it makes it like, hey, dumb this down.
Yeah.
And so the dude
or don't dumb it down. Do the opposite.
Take it the other direction. And so we were talking about in
Doesn't
that
Grammarly do that?
not to the same degree as what we're talking about. And I was talking to the dude who did that, and he said the problem is you have, like, a large number of shops who are terrified of AI. And he's like, if I put that in there, they're like, you're stealing my data. It's a valid point. Like, how do you please everybody?
So you don't.
David's not going to be happy about anything anyway. So
I like the way it is.
And
quit messing with it. It's fine.
And he also is not trying to please everyone. So he wouldn't care.
Me? Yeah.
Yeah. He's not even.
If I have a customer,
I'm so glad I didn't.
if I have a customer that doesn't want me to text them and email and all that, we don't deal with them.
So how does that work? Do you just fire them right away?
Yeah, we just tell them, like, hey, this is going to be a little difficult to do because we text and email everything. We don't have a printer here. I can't print anything for you. We'll call you on this one, but this is just the way that we do things. And they kind of get the picture, like, they go away. Themselves, yeah.
How many, like, if you had to assign a percentage?
1 or 2 a year.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all.
And we have some that still come back. And we just know because they have the little yellow box on the text thing that they give me a landline. That's all they have. Mm-hmm. And, they're just really old. They don't know how to work their cell phone. That's what they tell me. I don't know how to use this thing. I have it for emergencies. Like, okay.
So what do they do when they go to the doctor's office?
Yeah.
Because the doctor's not, handing you a piece of paper after they took out an organ and saying,
no, they never check. They don't check anything. Yeah. So they have a child that goes with them. I just ran into this with my father-in-law. Like, he would go to the oncologist. The oncologist would tell him all these things. And all he would hear is, you can keep drinking your coffee. That's it. That's all he would hear. And it got to the point where my wife's like, I got to go with him every single time because otherwise I don't know what the doctor told him.
Yeah.
I don't know what new medicine they're putting him on. I don't know what the side effects are going to be. I don't know what to look for. Like, and he's like not listening at all. He's just off in la la land, and he hears what he wants to hear. And so they're not opening up the app to check the doctor's notes and the recommendations and the prescription. They don't. They get the little white pill and they take the white pill. That's what they do. It's messed up. It is. But I don't know.
Yeah, I like to make informed decisions. I don't want to just say, sure, go ahead.
But like 20 years from now, okay?
Yeah.
She'll only be 40 in 20 years.
Quit it.
40 years from now, right? Like, you're going to be seeing things completely differently. And there's going to be a new technology.
Yeah.
And
what?
Like
Neuralink?
Yeah.
They're going to zap it right into your brain?
Yeah, exactly. And
I don't think you lose that.
I think it's just, not going to want any of that.
I've got customers that 70s and 80s, and they play with their phones, and they know how to work
for
technology.
Sure. I have some that come in and they sharp as tacks, 80 years old, going on about life like nothing's wrong, and some that just like they're in a different planet, right? They have.
That's scary because whether you want technology or not, if you don't catch up, there's going to be so many things you're going to miss out on. And, I think that when you use tools that are put in place to make your job easier, to make your staff's job easier, but more importantly, to make it easier on the customer.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, without customers, you don't have a business. You don't have money. You're not providing for your families. And so you just really need to meet them, where they want to be met. And that's what Shopware does. And we're continuously improving that because we know those customers are your livelihood, right?
For sure. And like the majority of the consumers, that's what they're looking for right now. Mm-hmm. And so we're like, what I see the shop who is absolutely unwilling to provide that. Like, nope, we do this way. This is the way we've always done it. Like, and they're unwilling to move. They're unwilling to shift. They're not trying to see it from the customer's perspective, but they're.
Or what's worse, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, I'm so sorry, but when they say, okay, great, I want to go from whatever antiquated system they had in the past that you put something on top of it, they want to go to the new and modern system that works exactly like that, but that has, a DVI. And it's like, why? Why are you even making a switch? You should be looking for something that is going to be substantially different to automate some of these processes, to make your life easier, to make things more efficient, not just bring RO Writer into, a DVI tool now. Like that's not doing anything.
Well, and they come in and they expect Shopware to work like Mitchell. They expect Shopware to work like something else. No, dude, it's a different product. Like it's not going to.
And there are systems that are out there that will work like RO Writer, but have a DVI tool in them. And if that's your choice, then great. But Shopware is going to not only give you the new functionality, it's going to do it differently. So that way you have a different result, a better result, a result that's going to produce not only a DVI, but some things you didn't actually anticipate getting as well.
You know what I want? I want the Tire Guru features brought into Shopware.
Tire Guru is pretty awesome.
Dude, I'm telling you, like the stuff they just added. And like, I had somebody message me the other day and they're like, oh, it's very antiquated and it's this and it's that. And I'm like, bro, like, are you sure we're talking about the same product? Because I just saw what they're adding to this. That's pretty cool.
Oh, so slick. So I now represent Velo SMS from a partner perspective. So I'm not, even though you know me as Shopware, I'm not just Shopware. I'm representing Protractor and Shop Boss and Tire Guru and Max Tracks and, the rest of them, right? And so
you guys own Max Tracks too?
We do, yeah. Omnique. Do you guys know that?
Hey, listen, we tried our very best to get the Monique from Omnique thing going, but it just didn't work.
So that made it a full circle back. But
and like everybody, like that was a topic of conversation at that meeting.
Monique from Omnique.
Why do we not have Monique from Omnique? This is crazy. This is absolutely insane. This is like the best thing we could do.
Yeah, it was so good. As a matter of fact, the first year of me working for Shopware, I would say, "Hi, this is Monique from Shopware." It was so hard to change that. But anyhow, I say that I'm now Velo SMS. And so I had to, of course, learn all of these other systems that I've not really been super privy to before, like Shop Boss and Tire Guru. And after Josh gave me the Tire Guru demo, I'm like, here, let me grab my card. Hold on one second.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like, so it's really cool.
If I was running a tire shop, I would absolutely and 100% be on Tire Guru because I think it is awesome.
Well, and like, so they were showing the things that just got integrated with
the parts optimizer.
Yeah, the tire optimizer.
Yes, the tire optimizer.
And
yes, thank you,
dude. Holy cow, that is super cool because like the tire space is really competitive, and I'm not saying you have to compete with those people.
Yes,
but the data that it gives you for that, like
just that is worth it.
Yeah, sure.
And there's a bunch of other things that make it so awesome, but
Yeah.
just that, because to your point, not only is it competitive, but a lot of times you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so having it all kind of just funnel up to you
Yeah.
and tell you, hey, you're doing yourself a disservice by underpricing here because everybody else is clearly
sure.
making more money than you. Now you can at least go and, again, make informed decisions as a shop
Right,
owner.
and see it.
Do I need to
Yeah.
up my pricing? Am I way too...
You know who had that? Lane Car. Yeah, exactly.
I'm not even...
Exactly. So Lane Car is an SMS out of Canada.
Oh, that's why.
And
Sorry, Jeff.
it was...
Hey, we
It
didn't
had-
have poutine last night.
Yeah, we had poutine last night. It was bastardized poutine, but it was still poutine. It was good.
Yeah.
Monique
My
got
wife-
a little nervous when the subject started.
I don't know what it is. I can't
What?
contribute to this
You know, I had
conversation.
poutine. It's cheese curds, gravy on top of fries.
Yeah, it's really good.
And this was chicken gravy.
And that
The chicken gravy was good.
Yeah.
Chicken gravy, and this had like fried
Yeah.
cheese curds.
the best waiter I think I've ever had.
Yeah,
Is that
listen,
like-
the waiter was a 10 out of 10.
Is that like a French word? Poutine?
Poutine? I have no idea.
Yeah, I thought I did a bunch of study abroads in France, and I tried to talk to some folks from Quebec, and I realized very quickly
Very different.
we are not speaking the same French.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, just kidding. I don't know your French.
Yeah. It's a
That's the
difference.
thing, too.
Yeah.
You're trying, like a Puerto Rican from New York talk to you. I have no idea what you're saying, dude. Like, I have no idea what you're saying. Also, Mexicans, like, if they're from the northern part of the country, they come in and they're like, blah, 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 blah. Dude, you need to slow down. But you get them from the southern part, they talk at my pace.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
I think, to your point, Spanish from someone in Puerto Rico, the Dominican, and Argentina are very fast, very different, very hard to understand, or even just Spain because they use
Yeah, they lisp.
different words. Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. It's lispy. It's weird.
This gal I was sitting next to on the plane kept calling my sister, who we say Mercedes. She kept saying Mercedes.
Oh, yeah,
I was like,
Mercedes.
oh my
Like-
gosh. Please stop.
That is not her name.
You know what's a great movie? Pan's Labyrinth. You ever seen it?
No.
Okay, it's a fantastic
I'm not very
movie.
cultured. You know this.
It's not a what? No, it's like saying I haven't seen. I don't know.
That was a delayed reaction if I've seen one before. Took a second.
like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Like I haven't seen. No, I'm not that cultured. Saying it's not that kind of movie. It isn't. It's in.
Could have
it's
done with
from-
an Oompa Loompa and a plunger, huh?
It is set in Spain, and it's like Spanish actors. But then you get the subtitles or whatever if you don't want to watch it in Spanish, if you don't
I can't
understand
read.
Spanish. You can't read and watch a movie at the same time.
I just can't read.
I can't watch a movie without the subtitles.
I was gonna say, as a matter
I
of
gotta
fact,
have the subtitles.
Even when in English, I have to have the subtitles.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
I'm
all the time.
yeah.
Nah,
I'm here.
I gotta have them on.
so-
I can't hear without my words on the screen.
Same. It's like when you turn the music down when you're driving and looking for something. It's like I cannot function without subtitles.
Hey, y'all should do that leadership class because he talks about that. It's like a
turning
whole
down the music.
yeah. Well, it's like a whole section of like why you do that and what your mind's going through when that happens, and like why do you need subtitles versus not. It's really interesting.
You're broken. You can say it. It's fine.
It's the science of how we learn.
You know,
Okay.
after being here at the summit for now a few days,
Yeah.
I have heard nothing but great things about Michael Smith.
He is a smart cookie, buddy.
That is literally what every single person who interacts with him says.
Yeah.
And so I'm having a major case of FOMO and feeling like I need to
Yeah.
learn more from him, talk more to him so I can
He's doing several of those classes throughout this year.
Yeah.
the leadership class.
I think he's going to come to the shop. We need to sit down and talk with Kent and them. And
They
figure out.
were expecting you to have that all worked out like towards the end of February.
Well, I talked to Kent, and Kent said, "Hey, I'll have the girl about the hotel reach out." And I said, "Well, no problem. I can like set up whatever I need." He said, "Well, let me have her reach out." And then I think we got our wires crossed somewhere. So.
Well, they were asking me, and I'm like, "What did he tell you? That you guys were going to do some kind of meeting like a week before Vision?" I'm like, I think you guys can just dismiss that. Let's put a pin on that and we'll get back to it later.
Yeah. Well, that's what I emailed him and said. Now, Dory, that works for them, is a clinical psychologist or something like that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's really, and so like they teach in parts, and I don't know that she teaches with him in each one of those.
Okay.
But holy cow. And like, so it was them going back and forth talking about how we learn, talking about why we do the things we do. And what was so interesting is like breaking down decision making from the aspect of, I'm a shop owner and I'm pissed off that you did this. I'm pissed off that you did this like this. Why did you do this like this? And we talked about perspective earlier, right? And so they're talking about, why do human beings make the choices they do? Why do they interpret data differently? And so they break it all the way down to the psychology of how we learn and why do we do the things we do, right? And so it gives you this new appreciation for how you speak to people and how you encourage them to do the thing that they need to do. And why might they say no to that? Why might they push back to that? And what are they telling themselves? Right? Because what you tell yourself is what you end up with.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool, like how they go in. I mean, by the last day, I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, you are not smart enough to interpret all of this in one of these. This is going to take like 4 or 5 times to be able to interpret everything that they just put on the table. And so on the last day, he's like, okay, now listen, this is going to be like drinking from a fire hose. I'm like, oh shit, it was already like drinking from a fire hose. This is going to be worse. You know
You're
what I
like,
mean?
oh God.
Right? And it's just, dude, I'm telling you, it is so crazy. It is like,
Well, I would be very interested in that because I've been on this like self-improvement journey and I've been very like immersed into improving myself, right? But more importantly, like the habits that I've created over a couple years in my life.
Yeah, for sure.
But getting rid of the bad habits and instead like replacing them with better habits, right? For example, if I scroll on social media for hours when I wake up, like replacing that with working out or doing something else that's more valuable. And, a lot of times we don't even realize what we're doing, much less that it's something.
Those damn reels.
Yes. Yes.
Damn reels.
Hey,
Are you
They're
a
so
TikToker?
funny. No. Oh, no, I can't.
Where are you watching your reels?
That's Facebook. So they pop up and I'm like, ha, funny. Please send it to Lucas. Ha, funny. Please send it to my wife. Ha, funny. Please send it to Lucas. That's what I do all day.
Yeah, right. So that's a bad habit.
That's a bad habit.
hey, so
And it's not easy to break. It's not easy to break
No,
those
you don't.
habits.
And hey, I was on an airplane. I don't know what the person was, but they were like evidently some kind of mental health expert or something. I was listening to them. They were sitting behind me and they were like, hey, just look around the plane. They're talking to the person next to them. They're like, just look around the plane and pay attention to people on their phones. And they're like, they're doing this thing called the death scroll. And like people on the plane, if you watched them, they would just start like looking at their phone and they would bounce back and forth from thing to thing to thing, waiting on this dopamine hit from this one thing to happen, this one notification. And like everyone on the plane was doing it, except for some of the older generation who were reading a book or sitting back and relaxing and right. But like,
And that's why I don't have a Kindle. A lot of people get the tablet, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I need to get away from electronics. So I have to have the book that I can flip the pages. And if I find myself like on the plane, I do not allow myself to get on any electronics. So I'm not working. I'm not scrolling. Again, these are things that I had to shift because they were habits that I was
watch
doing.
a movie. I don't watch a movie otherwise. I never watch movies.
But
That's
still,
when I got
electronics, you go from scrolling to now I'm watching a movie, which is my eyes are still focused on this thing. And that's what I want to get, me personally, anyhow. I'm not saying other people have to, but it's what I want to get away from is just constantly being tied. Because I'm telling my son, who's always gaming, right? I'm like, you need to stop. You need to not be on YouTube or games or TikTok or whatever. But how do I tell him he can't if I'm not getting off of it.
It influences our behavior in ways that you would never imagine.
Unless he's really good at gaming, and then just lean into
I know.
it.
I'm like, can we just be millionaires, son?
Yeah.
Mama's
need
going to
to
live off of you.
Yes.
I mean,
Game
it's-
plan for my son. Like, hey, you want to learn how to mod Minecraft? He's like, yeah. I'm like, bet. Let's do it.
Oh my gosh, my
Well,
son would
put
be
you in front
so
of a-
thrilled with you. He's always like, Mom, come play Minecraft with me. And I'm like,
Minecraft is so boring.
It is. It's awful.
Dumbest game I've ever heard. I've ever tried. I don't get it, but my kids love it. My son loves it. But I do. If he wants to start learning how to code and make modifications, and then I can slap that on YouTube.
Hey, dude, my daughter, like, her thing is going to be video editing. Like, she is a bomb diggity video editor. Now, at the point we're at right now, it's not like things I would watch, right? I mean, I do watch her things. I don't mean it like that. It's just that, like, it's not the type of content I would typically consume. But, dude, she is really good at it.
that's awesome. That's really good.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
How
good she
much
is.
time would you say your children spend with technology a day?
Dude, my wife is like, she rules with an iron fist. And so, like, they only have certain times they can use technology. My daughter does not have technology except for on the weekends.
But is this her telling them they can't and taking the device, or what is, like, how does she stop them, I guess, is my question.
She love and logics the shit out of them.
That's cute. That's
They
super
they
adorable.
are.
But she takes the device,
No,
or she just
she doesn't
tells-
have to. She doesn't have to. She's got them programmed.
Okay.
She knows how they're going to respond, and they know what the rules are, and there's a system around it.
Same.
My son. We were letting him game at night after his homework, but he was getting distracted at school and this, that, and the other. It's like, okay, you can't have that constant stimulation all day, every day.
Yes.
And so, during the week, no videos. He can watch TV with the family if we sit down to watch something or whatever, but he normally doesn't want to
And
do
how
that.
old is your oldest child?
Mine's 9.
9.
Mine's 13.
Okay, so yours is closer to mine. My son, it was real bad. It
Yeah.
was real bad.
How old is he?
14.
Oh, that
No. Like, if I am not monitoring, this kid will
12, 14 hours. Yeah.
Yes, we'll
Okay.
go from 3:30 the moment he walks in to 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, he's got to go to bed. But
Exactly.
But
That's
if
what I was
he
saying.
goes, if his grades aren't that bad, like, don't get upset by D's and C's as long as he passes. But he gets
I
home
think
and he
David
plays till.
is talking about himself here.
I'm just saying, you end up fine. 9 to 10 o'clock at night, but he goes to bed at a normal hour, and he's not unhealthy. That was the other thing. It's like my son, like, hey, you gotta go get up and move. Like, go outside, ride a bike. Like, you can't sit the entire day. It's not healthy for you. So yeah, it's a little bit of shifting their habits so they get good habits for the rest of their lives. But at 14, he wants to get if he's good at it. Now if he's just bad at it.
I tried several things to, like, stop this. I finally had to get one of those apps on my phone that I can
turn it
control.
on and off.
Yeah, I can control what
Turn off the Wi-Fi.
what devices.
Well, you're on the
Wi-Fi.
road a lot,
Yes.
and so that's
And so I see when he logs on.
Yeah.
If I wanted to turn it off, I could. But yes, same. He can only have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's certain times. But I've noticed a huge behavior difference in
for
him.
sure.
Huge. He was grumpy and mean and,
Yep,
and
same.
Probably lack of sleep more than anything.
right. And the crazy thing is, so when I got the app, for the first couple of weeks, he hated me, of course.
Yeah.
And then the other day, one of our family friends came over. So crazy. I wasn't there, so I didn't hear this. He wasn't trying to earn brownie points, but she was complaining how her sons were on video games too much. And he's like, well, my mom got this app where she controls when I can be on. He's like, it's been great for me. You should get it for them.
Wow.
And I didn't believe this, right? Like, because it came from the family friend, but my brother was there and he verified and he was like, I was so shocked that he said this. And
That's
I said,
crazy.
okay, I'm happy. if he's happy, I'm happy, and he's gaming less. So it's so good. You have to control that. Again, they don't understand. We don't understand the habits that we build, right?
Yeah.
To your point. And you have to kind of monitor that for them. And so that was a toxic habit that he had, and he doesn't know how to change that.
I want to set rules for my son.
Yeah.
If he can bench press his own weight and he's dry scooping creatine, game all you want, son.
So cute.
Here's the thing, though, is I look back at my life and I think, wow, I was a terrible kid and I did all of these things y'all are talking about. But like the technology thing led me in a different course than I would have gone without it, right? Like when they gave me the homeschool stuff on the computer and I figured out the file system and understood the coding within the file system and how to change the password without actually accessing the device. That led me to a different place in life than I would have been otherwise, right? Like those times, I'm not saying the unhealthy thing's okay. I'm just saying that.
Well, I'm sure you weren't doing this 12 hours a day like my son, right? Like there's again.
I try 16, 17 hours a day.
Yeah.
I mean, like I was a terrible, terrible teenager.
Maybe your parents didn't know how to get the app.
To
cut you off.
We didn't even have apps at that time. App was Snake on your Nokia.
It's so funny. So when I first cut him off, my daughter, him and my daughter were FaceTiming, and she sent me this picture, and she's all, please turn on this boy's internet because he's playing, the game, like the dinosaur jumping game on the computer when you don't have any Wi-Fi. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He was like playing that because he didn't have any internet. It was so hilarious. I'm like, no.
He'll be
fine.
okay.
He'll be all right.
He'll be fine. Toughen up, Buttercup.
Anyhow, we are way off of topic in what we were talking about. So
No, I mean, I think we covered some cool stuff. The one thing, she's messed us all up. We've been calling it the optimizer for years, and now she's telling us it's not an optimizer. It's
They changed the name back, she said.
Well, so here's the real reason that I don't call it a parts optimizer anymore. It was just a clever name to say that our parts matrix was optimizing, obviously, what they were doing previously. And so a lot of folks are just confused. As a matter of fact, here at the summit, one of our customers came up and said, hey, do y'all have a parts matrix?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
we always have.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, we call it the parts optimizer. So it's a little
I knew that
I
knew that we were headed in that direction because it put the little chart on there so you could see what it would look like.
Yes. Because people were, again, they didn't see what they're used to.
So they didn't think that it was.
So in their mind, it was non-existent. But the real main reason that folks just don't understand is because, again, they're coaching buddies, right? Or whomever they're getting the template from of like a penny to $1 is this and $1.
They think they have to set it there.
Yes.
And they, I think back to when I first started working with a coach, like I would not be able to take much of that advice now, right? Because like I've developed as a shop owner and there's a lot of things I know and I understand. But what's really cool, and Cecil and Rick are both very similar in this way. They don't give you so much information you can't process it, right? And so instead of teaching you how the sausage is made, they're like, hey, you need this sausage with this side. And here's how we're going to do that. Right?
Yeah.
And so then it's about getting you there first, and then you can learn how the sausage is made after the fact. But let's get you to where you're willing to eat sausage, right?
Yes.
And so that was one big thing for me is that like when Rick started working with me, if he had tried to say like, hey, I'm really just trying to target your parts GP to this, I would have been like, no, dude, that's too much.
Yeah.
But where he sat down and said like, hey, let's make this, and let's make this, and then we're going to adjust it. I didn't think about what the end number was. I just thought, okay, we're making these adjustments, right? So I think that's part of that comfort factor that they teach into it.
Yep.
Whereas I'm kind of to the point that I think that we should turn off all of those features for shop owners and let their coach just control their pricing, right? And you just give the coach a login and they hit the button and it adjusts it and they deal with it.
So that's funny, but so think of it this way, right? Let's say we all have the same coach. Let's say I'm not, but let's say I'm a shop owner, you're a shop owner, David's a shop owner. Let's say David works on diesel trucks.
Mm-hmm.
You do all things.
Yeah.
Right? Actually, I should have just swapped that. He's in Kansas. He works on lawnmowers and all the things. You're obviously
He is a
diesel.
lawnmower. Yeah.
You're diesel, only working on diesel. And let's say I'm Euro.
Yeah.
Right? So obviously we're buying parts from different places.
Yeah.
My negotiated rate and discounts and costs that I pay for those parts are different than what you guys are. And obviously the parts that I'm buying are also different. So I may
Different
be buying,
price point. Yeah.
not that I'm only buying 10, but let's say I'm buying 10 parts in a
Yeah.
given month, and one is $1, one is $5, one is $20, et cetera, right? Just different price points. Each one of us are different. So for our coach to go and hand us the same template of the zero.
Just doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work, right?
It's workload for them because they have to come back and constantly adjust.
Well, and that's what's happening today, right? Is
Yeah.
someone is saying, here, go use this template to set up your parts
Yeah.
matrix, and then you're going to hit 60%. Well, today I might hit 60%, tomorrow I might hit 45,
Yeah.
et cetera, right? So it's it's always going to be kind of that roller coaster
Yeah.
up and down. Whereas what our parts matrix does is it's not taking that template
Yeah.
and saying you all have to use the same thing. What it's doing is it's looking at those parts that I'm buying, the costs.
Tailoring it to you.
And it's tailoring it
Yeah.
to me. So that way, if I want to hit 60% with the parts that I'm buying, and if you want to hit 62% with the parts you're buying, and he wants to hit 55% with the parts he's buying,
Yeah.
guess what? If I'm not emotionally discounting, I'm going to hit that target every single
Yes.
month because the
Yeah.
system is creating those rows for me, very tailored, very custom for me and for you and for him.
And then it watches what's in the database, and as things are moving back and forth, it corrects and adjusts.
Well, so yes and no. So it's not, let's say that you give your customer a $5 discount.
Yeah.
It's not going and, charging the next person $5 extra.
Correct.
If you are emotionally discounting in any way, shape, or form, overriding the price point, you're just not going to hit it. Because the matrix never looks at your sell price to that customer. It doesn't care what you're selling it for.
Right.
Because that's not the way it's creating the equation, the algorithm, right? It's
Right.
looking at what are the parts that you're buying and selling.
Yeah.
So the cost of those parts, because
Yeah.
if you're buying them but you're not selling them, they're not that important.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to buy them and sell them to
Yeah.
a customer. But it's looking at the cost, and it's saying,
Yeah.
okay, if you have a $5 part and a $10 part and a $20 part, and you want to hit a 60% GP, I need to mark up the parts to this for you to hit that 60%
Right.
GP with those parts. But guess what? That doesn't mean you're buying a $5 part and a $10 part and a $20
Right.
part. You may be buying a $4 part and a $17 part and a $100 part.
Yeah.
So again, that's why it's different and why it's really, really important and helpful to our shops to
Yeah.
not use the same template every single time because
Right.
we're all different, right?
So let's talk about breaking it, because it does get broken sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I break mine all the time. And I think I know why I'm breaking it.
Well, so there's only one way to break it. Well, two. So I think we've changed this since then, but
Yeah.
initially when we built the optimizer, a lot of people were hesitant. They didn't
Yeah.
know if it was going to work.
Right.
So we gave them the ability to have options when they turned it on.
Yeah.
And people who have been using for a long time, if they chose the wrong option,
Yeah.
they think it's on because the light switches or the breaker is on,
Right.
but the light in the room is not actually on.
Correct.
So they're like, it's on, but I'm not hitting my target. Well, that's because none of your parts are actually automatically pricing.
Right.
You-
You have to turn optimizer on those.
Yes, that's correct. So again, some of the folks in the past using might have the wrong option selected. So
Okay.
if you're not hitting your GP that you have set as the target, you should definitely contact someone at Shopware
And just make sure
and,
that
and make
everything's...
sure. Yes, I've done probably 60 Zoom calls where I've went through and looked at people's settings and the output of what's going on.
Yeah.
And then I'm able to tell them, oh, well, either A, you turned on the wrong option, B, your people are overriding pricing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you're like, oh, it's the matrix. Well, it's not the matrix. It's the people who are making
Yeah.
changes to the
Yeah.
prices. Or C, maybe you just don't, maybe you turn it kind of halfway on. And so maybe they're turning the parts off. Like, because again, I
Yeah.
said it's like turning the breaker on, which is turning the optimizer on. But sometimes people will turn off the individual parts.
Yeah.
And so it's, again, it might say it's on, but like 50% or more of your parts aren't even actually being matrixed,
Right.
which is key. So if there's one of those issues, then we can point that out and we can let the shop know, hey, here's the recommended solution for that.
Right.
And a lot of times, probably 60% of the time, I just have to say, your people are discounting.
Right.
That's the main problem.
Well,
right?
and there's things that I adjust. And so what we're talking about doing, and for the most part, I have categories for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sitting here thinking, I should probably call Alex and tell him I would really love if we could like category reports.
Oh yeah,
and
have him jump on my calendar, and we'll go through all the things.
Yeah,
and
well,
then I'll help him.
You know what I'm saying though is like if you have a category report that shows your GP for those individual parts categories, and then
Just have him contact me.
yeah, and then,
I say that because yes, you probably already have those reports set up,
Mm-hmm.
but again, sometimes if your people aren't doing things correctly, they may leave an employee purchase, for
Yeah.
example, in brakes, and now it looks like your brake category is extremely low, but that's because you zeroed out parts or you.
right. Well, I mean, I'm just saying if as opposed to like changing the whole job category. In other words, when you select the part category, if we can go back and look at part category and say, in other words, like all of my parts for brakes are 55% GP.
Okay.
All of my parts for batteries are 30% GP.
Okay.
Right. And if I can go back and look at those parts and say, hey, those are accurate, right? Then I know that I'm where I'm supposed to be. Now, does it still affect it the same way? Like, in other words, because your parts GP includes what's optimized and what's not. I mean, maybe it should be that there's optimized GP and non-optimized GP.
Yeah. So there are exceptions.
Right.
They're called group exceptions, and so you could set up
Yeah.
batteries, tires,
Yeah, that's
et
what I
cetera,
use.
and you
Yeah.
can choose a different percentage. Now, obviously, we have, if you were there with Andrew, we're doing a bunch of work with part types in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
system and those exception categories.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, those part exceptions, and so that will make things.
Dude, I was so excited about that.
I'm like, can't you have that all done in 2 weeks? No, of
Yes,
course
he can't.
not. But
He can't. He's lying to you.
well, so luckily I worked on the product team for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And now my expectations are far more realistic.
Yeah, a little more level-headed.
Yeah. Because now
Yeah.
I know everything that goes into it. But before, I'd be like, what? It's been 2 days. You haven't built that yet?
Yeah, I know, right?
Which is craziness to think I was
Well,
that naive. But yeah.
so like the whole concept of pulling parts in from PartsTech and the category already being on the part and not having to select the category for the part. And then if there's exceptions to the GP, that it automatically adds the exception to the GP without me having to click a button is pretty, I like
Yeah.
that.
100%. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I don't like that you're being very unusually quiet. It's not like you.
Yeah. We're getting ready to catch the mother load of a rant here in a minute, I guarantee you.
No, I was fixing some stuff on my Shopware and I saw it was that's what I was working. That's what I was doing.
You saw a squirrel.
Yeah. Do you think we'll ever get the tire optimizer? You
Oh
think?
God, I'm hoping and praying. Yes, I mean I don't
like-
think it's priority.
No,
right?
obviously, but
But I mean, there's
because I would
What's it do?
hate to have to get
What's it do?
tire guru too. Like that would suck.
Yeah, right.
What's it do?
Oh my gosh! So it goes.
so cool.
Yes, it goes out and it looks at essentially your competition in the area, and it tells you, based on all of your tire prices to your customers, it tells you how close you are to your competition in terms of what you're pricing. So if
Yeah.
you're pricing under what the 10 tire shops in your area are underpricing, it'll ask you, do you want to raise your prices to be more competitive with your competition? You click a button, it reprices all of your parts for you.
Yeah.
It's so incredibly
I
awesome.
just wish David would quit kicking the camera. That would be so cool. Monique's like bouncing across the screen up there.
I don't know what's going on because it's behind me, but I'm going to rely on you guys to tell me.
Yeah. David had like his ADHD really kicks in like hardcore. The later in the day it gets, the worse it gets. And so he starts like putting his foot over against stuff and kicking stuff and moving
That's
stuff.
good. What are you talking about?
No, I mean, I just think that it's got such cool features. And it does such cool things that, and you know what, like,
Well, that's the benefit of now being under Velo, right? Is that we can share. So, you know, when a private equity company comes in, if they're not in this, any leaders, whether it's, you know, the company or just leadership in general, if they don't understand the automotive space and they're making decisions based on, you know, the medical industry that they were in before, it's a different dynamic. You know,
sure.
It's very, very not that the general principles or concepts aren't like overall the same, but you have to kind of know the folks in the industry and how they operate. And Velo does that. They know because we're not the only automotive, you know, company that they've bought. Like they have a ton of different shop management systems. They have marketing, payments. Not only are they in the aftermarket, but they're also in the dealership world. Space.
Yeah.
So they know.
Well,
automotive.
and what's so crazy is like sitting there and you know, like watching Rob's interaction with everything and like how things happen. It feels like, and at first I thought it was fake. Okay. I mean, obviously we know it's not fake with you, and we know it's not fake with Andrew and the people that we work with every day, right?
Yeah.
Like we know that's not fake. But when everybody else was doing the same thing, it was like, well, like, are they telling you to like talk to the people that are here on the cab and say like, oh, we really care about our customers, right? No, like it was genuine.
Yes.
I'm really surprised by the number of Velo employees that listen to the podcast, and can't say anything bad anymore, David.
Oh yeah, they love them some Lucas and David for sure.
I posted a video of one of my technicians doing something foul and grotesque. Okay, in the Changing the Industry group, and we go to this bowling party, and every single person at that party comes up and says, "That was hilarious," and I'm like,
That's messed up.
"Oh shit!"
Poor Eric.
Yeah.
Poor Eric.
Yeah. All eyes on David and Lucas for sure.
But no, I think it's so interesting because it genuinely feels like the people that are working with the clients are driving the direction of the organization. In other words, like Rob's sitting there going, yeah, sure. Okay. Like you guys do what you need to do. Like I'm just making sure we don't run off the rails here.
Yeah.
Right. But the feel is very much like, hey, we want to serve the clients, and here's how like we have this idea about doing this to make this better for this person. Yeah. And like one of the girls from 360, she's one of the customer support people we work with like all the time. Mm-hmm. And she's like, hey, I was thinking about this thing that you guys ran into, and I just want you to know, like, we did this. That's really cool. Right. Like they thought about the thing that happened. Yep. And so the problem with a lot of these other organizations is like leadership comes solely from the top, right? And I think leadership, like I've never seen a culture that was driven from the bottom before. Yes. To this degree. Yes. And that's why I made that post and said something about it, because I was so amazed like how much it drove that organization. Yeah. And a lot of the places I've been before, leadership definitely drives, right? Yeah. Because they come up with a strategy and they want to obviously make sure that it's put in place the way they envisioned it. And, you know, if for some reason they talk about what they want to do and they find out from, you know, the folks who are driving some of what they're putting in place, if they find out that it's not working,
then they just want us to let them know what will work, and they're
Yeah.
happy to change that direction.
For sure.
And if we tell them, the customers are the ones who are driving the change that we want to make, it's
Yeah.
not even a question. It's
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
okay, how do we make them happy? How do we push this forward in
Right.
a way that's going to make sense for them?
It feels like what we talk about all the time, which is leadership puts guardrails in place and empowers the people within the organization to do what they need to do to make it successful.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. And I've just never seen an organization of that size with that many people in it that can make that happen.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of very smart and talented people
Yeah.
who are sitting in the right seats, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I don't disagree. Are you going to say anything?
I think he's done. I think
Yeah, I'm
at some point in this conversation, he just turned
Yeah.
off.
Caffeine.
He didn't even hear anything we said for the last
he's-
2 hours.
No, he's off in I don't know what land. I was going to say La La Land, but I don't even think he's there.
No.